Ray Price, great to see you after a few years. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We could talk about rugby league, talk about your sporting career in general for all afternoon, but where can we start? As a kid growing up in Dundas Valley in Sydney, being exposed to both games, I dare say.
Yeah, I had to start with rugby union. Not had to start. Rugby union was basically the only sport I could play at the time. They didn't have rugby league in the area, even though it was a Tigers area, more so than an Eels. So I started playing union, and then eventually league did come into the area. But I thought, I'm here doing this. I play league at school, union on the Saturdays, and then on a Sunday I used to go out with my mates and play league with them.
And that code swapping, in fact, some shonky business as far as you were concerned, playing under a fake name, I believe.
Well, when I eventually started playing first grade rugby union, yeah, I was code swapping. I had mates that used to play for Channel 9. They were cleaners, and I used to go out, and if they were short, I'd play for them as either Vernon McGrath or Brian Sharkey, might be for one of the sides around Ermington or right eastward. So yeah, except I nearly got caught out one day. We'd had the match of the day. We played Randwick on the Saturday, and we happened to be playing the ABC in the Journalist Cup. And I'm on the field, and I thought, oh, I get copped here. Anyway, they could have copped me, but they didn't. It was good. I just used to like playing football. If there was a game on, yeah, I'd play it.
Well, you played plenty of games in both codes, and initially, of course, you kicked on in the 15-a-side game, culminating in Wallaby selection.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't think I'd ever get there, mainly because, you know, I was rough. I used to ride a bike and things like that. But I didn't see how that made me any different a person from what I did. I never had patches on the elbows or anything like that, spoke with a plum in my mouth. What you saw is what you get.
Sometimes, though, that didn't go down too well?
Oh, yeah, sometimes a few of the rah-rahs didn't quite like that, but mate, I'm there to test people out. That's what the whole thing's about. Life, enjoy it.
Well, you certainly enjoyed touring with the Wallabies, and it was after a tour at the back end of, 75 that the opportunity arose that you could play for a rugby league club, pretty famous club by the name of Parramatta. Yeah,
Parramatta had been trying to get me for a while, along with, I think there was about seven clubs. I like to be loyal to things, and anyway, I'd had a crappy tour. I'd had 2 operations while I was on the tour, so it was like I was starting to lose my position because I wasn't there to defend it. They had Gary Pearce fitted into my breakaway, and I thought, I'll try league. So I switched over to Parramatta. How to play league, I knew what it was about. I think the worst thing that people did when they changed codes was they tried to change their game. My game stayed exactly the same. Like in union, I used to, my job was to attack halfbacks 5/8 and stay on the ball. Well, my job in rugby league as a lock was to attack halfbacks 5/8 and stay as close to the ball as I could. So my game didn't change.
And it was an exciting time to come to Parramatta because long-suffering fans since joining the competition, nothing really to cheer about, but you had a good crop of people coming to the place, yourself of course included.
Well, Peardy was there, and the bomber. And
the original bomber, John Peardy.
That's right, and he could put the ball anywhere. So I used to tail him, and I came up with 12 tries the first season I played with Peardy, so it makes things easier. I had a very good crew when I first started. They helped, you know. They guided me in different ways of the game, and they helped you, which is good, you know. If anyone comes over new, the best thing to do is communicate with them. Well, I don't know if there's much of the communication in today's games. I think it's more worried about the money.
How could we not talk about state of origin, something I know that you hold close to your heart. We've spoken about this over the years. Queensland in those early days, they were up for it.
Well, Queensland were up for it, but Queensland were prepared for it, where New South Wales, I don't think, were. I think it took New South Wales about 5 years before they started really getting down to the nitty-gritties and competing with Queensland. But, yeah, State of Origin's good football. It should never be put above Test football. And that, I think, is where it is at the moment.
But it's been like that for some time.
It has been like that. It is tougher because, although not so much now, they've taken a lot of the toughness out of the game, but you know, you used to have your 10 minutes softening up period and things like that, which people say, oh, that's garbage. Yeah, well,
And you used to love it.
well, it was part of the game. You know, you didn't know what you were going to get, but you knew something was coming. So, yeah, it was exciting. The crowd loved that part of the game. And then you just settle down and play football.
But also, we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that you got to wear that blue jumper at Lang Park. Now, just take us through that. What was the experience like coming to the old cauldron back in those days when they were baying for your blood?
I used to love playing at Lang Park. I reckon that was the best place to play football because, see, if you did something good, the crowd would still applaud you, even though, more so when I played for Australia at Lang Park. When I played for New South Wales, they didn't cheer me too many times.
Funny that.
Yeah. But, no, I used to love playing Lang Park because you knew it would always be full. And there's no better arena than a full arena. You know, if you can't get a player, the best out of a player, in front of 50, 60, 70, 100,000 people, then throw him on the scrap heap because he's not going to play. He's not going to make it.
Well, you certainly made it at Parramatta and a lot more than that, and your teammates ditto, because it built up for that 81 grand final side, and they still talk about it today on the streets of Parramatta. The first time ever Parramatta went all the way. It was a long time coming.
It was a long time coming, and it was unfortunate. You know, I thought we were unlucky in 76, and then we backed up again 77, which is very hard for a side to do, a beaten side in a grand final, to back up the next year. And we got beaten by Harry Bath's Babies.
The Mighty Dragons?
Yeah. There's a few things about that. But anyway, you can't dwell on the past. You've got to sort of upward and onward.
Well, you're certainly at the top in 81, up against the Newtown Jets. Tommy Raudonikis and his Blue Bags. It wasn't quite their day, but what a great day to be a Parramatta fan.
Well, if we didn't win that one, we were never, ever going to win a grand final. And that's taking nothing away from Newtown, because they beat the crap out of Manly the week before.
Did they what?
It's a wonder they didn't have half their side sent off. But, yeah, the big blokes in their side, so it was just one of those things. It was a tough game. But isn't it ironic, out of that game, Brett Kenny scores 2 tries, and then he later goes on in the next... Oh, that's one way of describing him, yeah.
And his record against Wally Lewis, which is something we should touch on today, speaks for itself.
Well, every time Brett played against Wally, Brett stood him up cold once or twice in the game. Yet Wally would always get man of the match. I think it was a contract that Wally had. No, I don't know. No, Wally was a great player, but I always would have Brett in my side as the 5'8".
Now, after that 81 grand final at full time, famous words from the super coach, Jack Gibson. Parramatta finally winning their first grand final, and, quote, "Ding dong, the witch is dead," unquote. Good stuff, wasn't it?
It was good stuff, and, you know, the thing that Jack Gibson taught all of us, and, you know, I learned a lot from Jack. I used to retaliate. I used to be a cranky little man on the field, so if someone would do something to me, I wouldn't worry about retaliation. I'd just go straight away, you know, instead of... Jack taught me to be patient a little bit, which is helping in my golf now. I'm very patient with the golf.
Not before time. Not before time.
I wait for the good things to happen. But, you know, he used to say to me, "Why do you retaliate straight away?" I said, well, he was the guy that did it. You know, he could have punched me or whatever. He said, "Leave it. Don't worry about the big fellas. Next time the little bloke runs past you, get him."
And you did.
And say, "That's for you, such and such." So, yeah, Jack taught me a lot.
You got your revenge.
I did, and it was a little bloke, so...
Tough luck.
That's it.
Now, that was the start of a terrific time for Parramatta as a player, a fan, an administrator, because you went on to bigger and better things. 3 on the trot, as it turned out.
Well, 81, 82 and 83 were great with Gibbo. Gibbo, I think, had drained himself of all that he could teach us, because towards the end of 83, our third grand final, he was using a fair bit of John Money's things, tactics and things like that.
If you stack them all up and compare apples to apples, which was the best grand final experience? What takes the cake for Ray Price?
86, mate. We nearly lost Crow at the start of the year with an unfortunate accident that happened in a trial game. I kept intact.
Michael Cronin had that aura about him?
But they could see the aura that Crow had around him, and they just pinched off it. You know, they just kept taking little bits and pieces, and you know, they helped him too, which was very good. So I needed Crow there. So we had that. We won like a pre-season comp. We hadn't been beaten. We won the mid-season comp too, and the grand final. No one was going to take that. 4-2. We had 2 tries disallowed. Canterbury came home. Towards the last 5 minutes, Canterbury were getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and we just seemed to have a mountain of the most memorable. Because, see, when you retire at the highest level, and I saw myself on, but not at the standard that I set. So if you can't do that, then don't play.
When you look back at the playing roster for the Blue and Golds all those years ago, Ray Price, Brett Kenny, Peter Sterling, Steve Alla, Michael Cronin, Eric Grove, we could go on and on and on. Lucky there was no such thing as the salary cap.
Well, hey, we weren't getting paid too much.
But if you know
the
what
salary cap would have been all right.
Yeah,
we probably could have got under that because Fitzy had always come up with this, well, we're in a liquidity problem. There was a couple of times where he used to cut our win bonus.
This is your chief executive or club secretaries in those days, Dennis Fitzgerald?
Yeah. So, you know, we played but it was secondary. It wasn't the important thing. I think that's where they've got away a little bit from the game. It is a game. It doesn't matter. It's never ever not going to stop being a game, rugby league.
But it's long ago become a big business as well.
But it's still a game. It is a game. It's a sporting game, and you need to have sporting people play that game as sporting people.
Do you think, though, some of our administrators have forgotten that?
Yeah, I do. I think today's game, they've taken too much out of the game. They've taken the skill out of it. They've taken the characters out of it. They've taken the hooker out of it. You know, like, have a look at the scrum. It's just ridiculous what they do in the scrum.
Now, when you finished up from the Eels, you went into commentating. It was something that, well, it was a natural fit for you because you always called a spade a shovel.
The first year was okay. I could say a couple of things, and I used to get things mixed up, but it didn't matter. There was one time there where we were calling a game at Parramatta Stadium, and Stone was the referee. And I said, he's cheating, the referee. And he's put his hand over my microphone. He said, you can't say that. And I grabbed his hand and I moved it off the microphone. I said, you watch this. I'll show you exactly how he's doing it. I said, I'll bet you any money, and I'm pointing down at Stone. I think it was about the second or third tackle. Who had the ball? Canterbury had the ball. I said, I'll bet you any money he'll give Canterbury a penalty in another 3 tackles. 1, 2, 3, comes up to the 5th tackle. Penalty, Parramatta offside. I said, see? I said, and you wait and see. Parramatta had the ball, and so it doesn't look as though it's all one-sided, he'll give them a penalty on the 1st or the 2nd tackle, so they don't get the use of the ball. Yep, Parramatta get a penalty, 2nd tackle. I said, see? It's a cheat.
And how did that go down?
Yeah, not so good.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't allowed to talk about referees either.
Another thing that sticks out in my mind was the arm movements, particularly when, from your rugby background again, and also when the opposing team was having a shot at goal, what you would do, that classic pose. But,
you know, everyone used to sort of... The funny part about it is I used it as a 2-prong thing, all right? Like, I'm learning there. Now, if everyone looks at the goalpost, turns their back to the kicker, looks at the goalpost and leans to one way, right, you've got to get the whole 13 people doing it. The goalposts become an optical illusion and go the other way to the goal kicker. I could never find that out because the other 12 people wouldn't do it.
They weren't keen on it, were they? Not at all.
No. And then the second prong was they're yelling at me, like all the supporters are yelling at me for standing that way, So it's their goal kicker that's trying to concentrate and have the shot. So that was me two-prong. And, you know, it's a gimmick. It's if my hands are already there, if it hits the posts and comes down, my hands are already up there. I'm not going to knock it on by bringing it up and hitting my fingers. I used to do the same in the back of the line out. You know, the ball would come to me at the back, but most of the time I'd have a taller guy against me. So 9 out of 10 times I would let him get the ball and then just come and throw him.
You're talking about Mr. Perpetual Motion, big head.
Yeah, like I didn't get a big head or take too much from it. Like people used to call me a lot of things. Some of them complimentary, and some of them not. So I'm not there to pass judgment on people. Whatever happens on the field, it's the same as a player. Whatever happens on the field happens on the field. You leave it on the field. That's it.
You picked up so many awards in your illustrious career. Dally M's by the truckload, Rothmans, Harry Sunderland on the international stage, and even feted by the community at large with an Order of Australia medal. Take the pick of that.
The Order of Australian was by far the most complimentary because I was still playing when I got that. To me, I thought, wow, you know, like I thought you only get these things when you're dead or about to die or something like that. So, yeah, the others, you know, what comes along in your season, you don't necessarily aim to, like I set myself goals each year, don't get me wrong. None of them to win any awards. It's to play Sydney, New South Wales, play for Australia, you know, things like that. You set yourself goals to try and achieve things, and anything else is a bonus. So, yeah, I had a couple of bonuses on the way.
Well, the Dally M's come to mind 5 times, 5 years in a row. Dally M Lock of the Year.
Yeah, I missed out on the first one. I got international player, and Steve Rogers got the lock. So, no. You can share things around every now and then. That's not too bad. And like Steve Rogers, I don't mind sharing things with him. He was a great player.
Well, last time the Eels held up the trophy, you were there, now more than 2 decades ago. How soon or how close are the Eels to getting another one on the board?
I think the coach that they've got, they're going the right way. I think within 2 or 3 years, I'm hoping that he'll have them back up there where they deserve to be. But he does need to get a few players. I know they've lost a lot of players, but now he's got to rearrange them. We've got to get a half-5, half-5-8 combination, which we haven't got. I'll give these blokes a go for a year. But if Smith and the young signing Finch from the Roosters doesn't work, they're going to have to do something, because realistically there are no good 5'8s, I mean outstanding 5'8s in the competition at the moment.
Well, largely bereft of genuine pivots compared to your day.
Yeah. Whereas like every second team had a sensational pivot, like your Terry Lambs, your Wally Lewis, your Brett Kennys. The game is getting rid of the characters, and you need characters in today's game. I don't care what anyone says.
Do you think though, would you concede that's largely because of the business approach to rugby league? Everyone has to be squeaky clean now. We've had too many scandals, way too many scandals. Everyone's under the proverbial microscope.
But, you know, do you think those scandals are created from the time that they put on the players? Like, they give the players too much time. Why can't they work? Are you telling me that, like, people keep saying to me that they're much fitter today, they're much faster, and so on. Well, I disagree with that. I can't see. I talk with the boys of today, and I ask them how long they train for and that, and it's no longer than what I trained for 20 years ago. So how are they fitter? They might be taller than me, but I don't think...
So that doesn't stick with you?
No, it does not stick. It's not a fitter and faster game. And there's not big hits because everyone's scared today. Like, go back 20 years, I'll show you some big hits. You know, and these people...
Powder puffs playing rugby league today.
It's the way they've turned the game. No one is going... And I'm not saying bring back the high tackles and things like that.
In dealing with that?
Yeah, it was a tough card when I was first dealt that. But the only way to deal with things like that is to hit them head on. So I tried to get it out as quick as possible, which they have done that. And I just now have to not so much suffer. I just have to have chemo for the next 6 months, just in case it laid a seed. But my health has never been poor. Even though I've had the cancer, my health has always been good. So yeah, I've been lucky in that way that my wife feeds me healthy, and I'm fairly fit.
Pricey, one final question. How would you like to be remembered?
Oh, they can remember me how they want. It really doesn't worry me. I just, as an honest player, you know, I never try to shirk my work. If there's a tackle to be made, I like to make it. So yeah, not of missing out on any hard work, I suppose. It's a good way to be remembered.
Ray Price, good to see you again. Thanks for going down memory lane.
Mate, terrific, Costa. Cheers. Thank you.